Hello, hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello and
Zibby.
welcome. Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome. If you love reading books, definitely plan on sticking around. Zibby Owens is here to share her top 5 summer reads, and we are giving away some great prizes. So comment to say hello and let us know you're here. And I'm Lauren, and today I am joined by Annie and our special guest, Zibby Owens. And we are so excited to have you back with us, Zibby. Zibby is a writer, mother of 4, and creator of the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.
Oh my gosh, I love that name, by the way. It's like the most accurate name of
The most accurate name of all time.
Yes, it's so relatable, honestly. Quick question, how did you come up with that name?
It's funny. I was writing a bunch of parenting essays because I've been writing essays and writing forever. And my husband actually said to me one night, you should really write a book with all of your parenting essays. And I said, ugh, moms don't have time to read books. And then I was like, oh, that's funny. I'll make that the title of my book.
Oh my gosh.
But apparently publishers wouldn't have found that funny. So I still had this title. And a friend of mine said, you should start a podcast. And I was like, what's a podcast? And I thought about what I would want a podcast to be about. And I've always been someone who forwards articles and rips out things and mails them. And I'm, always trying to recommend books and things. So I thought, well, I could just have a podcast where I read all these great articles or I read clips, parts of books and stuff. And I'll call it Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And then I found out all of that was illegal. And I would have to get permission to read all that stuff. So I thought, I guess I'll just, I could try interviewing authors. I knew like 3 authors and I was like, well, I'll start with them. I'll use the name. Let's just see what happens. I didn't even want to tell anybody in case it was like a total failure. So I just started in my bedroom with my phone. I Googled easiest podcast recording from your phone, whatever. And I was just like, do. And anyway, here I am.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I was telling Lauren how much I love that title because it's so true in my own life. And of course, in addition to not having time to read, I always, it's a challenge to find the perfect book, the next book that I want to read. And so I don't know if anyone else, moms you're watching, do you have that challenge? Let us know, because I'm hoping I'm not the only person who's I do love books, but it's just, what should I read next? Having the book recommendations and not knowing what to, what to put on my list. Yeah.
I have that very same issue. I have a stack of books on my bedside table that I've been wanting to read for really probably months, years now. So I feel like when you do find that book that you're, really excited about, it just ends up sitting on your bedside table because I was telling Annie the other day, I feel like lately the most I've read is the back of a cereal box, giving my kids breakfast every day. So we're really happy to have you here today, Zibby. Zibby's also going to give us some more information about all these resources that she provides for, all of us moms out there who are time starved, but, still love books. And Zibby's also going to be sharing her top 5 book recommendations for summertime reading. So really excited about that as well. So, but before we get into that, let's share a little bit more about Moms Meet and who we are.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Moms Meet is a large online community for moms who are interested in healthier, better for you products and connecting with other like-minded moms. So we encourage you to visit momsmeet.com. You can join for free and you can sign up to be a mom ambassador. And that way you can, try and sample various better for you products all for free with your friends. So make sure you check that out. And then the other thing I wanted to share as for this event is, it's our typical style, of course, to have some kind of giveaway and prize with all these Facebook Live events that we do. So today we're going to be giving away to 3 lucky winners. We're going to give away a great prize. Zibby, you had offered crumb cakes as a prize from Nini's Treats. Now, I've never had those crumb cakes before, but when I went to that website, I desperately wanted to order them. So can you tell us a little more about that prize, Zibby?
Yes. So my husband's grandmother, who he calls Nini, makes these amazing crumb cakes that she's been making since like forever. She's 86 years old. And a couple years ago, her daughter and granddaughter were helping her make it into a business. And I actually saw my husband in the other room be like, he was on the computer. I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm trying to start a Kickstarter campaign because my family's trying to start a crumb cake business." And I was like, wait, stop, let me help. So I became like the acting CEO to like make this into a business. And I did the branding and the naming and all this stuff. And I did it because the cakes are so good. Yeah. And now it's caught on. So I've been a part of the whole expansion, and they're going on QVC very soon. And they're really going to take off. I have to say, I eat them and like I can see on my hips where they go. But I do it anyway because they are worth it. So I just it's called Nini's Treats. You can get them on goldbelly.com or ninistreats.com. And it's a great gift. I give them to like lots of friends and stuff, especially now because what are we doing but eating? So
yes. Okay, so 3 lucky winners will receive crumb cakes from Nini's Treats, and then a tote bag as well. So
I got it right here. I can get it. Hold on.
Yeah, show us the tote bag. So in order for you guys to be eligible to win, very cute. Nice. You can never have too many tote bags.
Right.
Make sure that you're commenting and participating. Ask us some questions. If you have a question for Zibby, make sure you're commenting and sharing this video with your friends on Facebook, and then we will select the winners on Monday. So that's what we have as a prize today.
Well, everybody, if you're just joining us, again, welcome back to our guest today, Zibby Owens, host of the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Again, she's a mother of 4 and a writer herself. Zibby also hosts a virtual book club, 2 Instagram live shows called Time with Zibby and KZ Time. She curates books on her bookshop.org site, and recently launched a personal essay site called We Found Time, which connects book lovers with authors and with brilliant minds. So I'm just floored. How do you have time to do all those wonderful things? She's also contributed to the Washington Post, New York Times, Parents Magazine, Real Simple, and many other publications. So you have an amazing role model, #goals. So during this event, chime in, feel free to post any questions you have for Zibby. We're just amazed by all the things that you've done and accomplishments and resources that you have for all these book loving moms out there. So I want to dive right into it and just ask you a few questions about how you got started and some of the passions that you have. So when did you first discover your passion for reading and writing? When did that begin?
As soon as I could do those things as a child. I even in 3rd grade wrote this whole long short story, and my grandfather published miniature books. They're like this big, and he made 20 of them for me as a present for my 9th birthday or something. And that's when I first saw that you could publish, what it was like to publish your work. And I gave out like sparingly these little books to like my teacher and my friend on vacation and whatever else. And I've just always loved to write from the minute. It just always came really easily to me and was very rewarding. I've had a diary since the beginning of time. And so I've always loved to write, and I've always loved to read. So I was like a nerd at summer camp, sleepaway camp. I was like on my bed reading Jane Eyre with like the scratchy quilt from camp. And everyone's like, "What are you doing?" "We're going water skiing." And I'm like, good.
I can totally relate. My parents, like my reward used to be, picking out a book at the bookstore if I was good. So I can totally relate to that. And over the course of your career, have there been any particular books or authors that have influenced you the most?
Well, my first real interaction with an author, her name was Zibby O'Neill, and my name is Zibby Owens, and it's obviously a pretty rare name. And I was in a bookstore with my mother, and we saw a book by Zibby O'Neill, and I reached out to her, as I did a lot of times when I was younger. When I would finish a book, we would look up the publisher information in the back of the book and send letters like, "I loved your book," whatever. I'm glad I wasn't around when Instagram was here. I would be like emailing every single author, which is basically what I'm doing now, but it seems more appropriate. Anyway, so I interacted with her and we developed this whole friendship, and she came to New York City and took me to tea at the Plaza. And that was like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. She told me all about what it was like to be an author and her life and all this stuff. So she was one of my most formative early experiences. And then there are other authors like Dani Shapiro, who I remember reading her memoir right out of when I was right out of college. She's a little bit older than me, probably almost 20 years older. And I have her books I've followed her through life, right? Like she's always been ahead of me. And it's almost like the older sister that I never had. I always wanted an older sibling and never had one. And so I feel like authors and books are that to me, particularly her. Not that we even have the same life, but just all the stuff she goes through. She writes about in such a beautiful way. And now we actually have become good friends. She was on my podcast and we've done lots of events together. And it's great. It's like the people you think you would be friends with when they read your book, you actually would be friends with them.
Yeah.
So.
And then can you tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to start your podcast, Moms Who Don't Have Time to Read Books?
Yeah, it was literally this random idea from a friend of mine. Her name's Sarah Mlynowski. She's an amazingly prolific middle grade author. Actually, she has a book that just launched yesterday or the day before yesterday called You and Me in a Little Canoe about probably me and you. I don't know. I think it rhymes. Anyway, she and I had coffee and she said, you should really start a podcast. She said, anytime, if I ever want to sell a book, I need more of a platform because I still had this book proposal. And I was like, okay, I wasn't even on social media. And I didn't know anything about podcasts. And it was such a lark. Like, I can't believe that 2 years later, I've won awards and had on all these celebrities and amazing authors and Alicia Keys and Lena Dunham and Andre Agassi and idols of mine from the book world, I don't know, Wally Lamb and Anne Lamott and and Dani Shapiro herself and Jennifer Weiner. And it's just so exciting to me. And it was just like I'll try it. I'll try it. What's the harm? It was so inexpensive. There was hardly any cost. It was so easy. So I don't know. I just tried it. And it's changed my life completely, 100%.
That's very inspirational, honestly.
Yeah. And such a needed resource for moms out there. And I mean, really anybody who wants to, get connected more with authors and learn more about their work and, is finding that, the time constraints with reading books can be, really daunting. So such an amazing idea and such a great resource for all of us, really.
Plus, you can do podcasts from your home. I mean, as a mom, right? I didn't have to leave. They were just they're still in the next room. So it's anyway.
Yeah. And can you tell our moms a little bit more about some of the other initiatives you've launched within the past few months? So we touched on the We Found Time essay site, but some others that you've been spearheading in the past couple of months.
Sure. Well, before the pandemic, I did a lot of live events. So I had a salon in my apartment in New York, and I would have 40 people over every other week or so, and I would bring different authors together who I thought would be interesting. Obviously, now I can't do that. So as soon as I, hunkered down for the pandemic, I was like, what can I do to help? So the first thing I did was I went on bookshop.org, and it's still on their homepage, but I made a list of all the books that were coming out because authors were just devastated that after all their hard work, they wouldn't be there to see the releases of their book. And so I thought I should highlight some of the ones that were going to be most effective. And then I thought, well, why don't I try doing an Instagram Live or a Facebook Live or something where I interview those authors so that there's more of a platform for them to get the word out. So I started doing these daily Instagram Lives, which I do Monday through Friday at 11 Eastern Time on my @Zibby Owens Instagram account. And every day I have between 1 and 4 guests and I interview them in real time. Sometimes I turn those interviews into my podcast with that author later. But it's just a nice way every day to touch base with somebody else, hear somebody's story, hear about a different book, connect with all the people in the comments. So it's been a really nice way to keep my community going in a way. So I do that. I also started a virtual book club. So I think we've had about 7 or 8 meetings. For the first half an hour, that's on 2:00 on Tuesdays, Eastern Time. The first half an hour, we all talk about the book. There's usually between 30 and 60 people. And then the second half an hour, the author comes and we do a Q&A with the author. And a lot of the things we ask are what's come up in our discussion. I wonder why the author did this. Well, let's find out. So I do that. I do it through a site called Book Clubs. CLUBZ. All this is on my website at zibbyowens.com. So you can join that. But that's been really fun. I've had, speaking of Dani Shapiro, I had her on. I had on Lily King, who wrote Writers and Lovers. I had on, next week, I'm having on Janine Cummins, who wrote American Dirt, which was a highly controversial, but now 15 weeks on the bestseller list book. So I'm really, really excited to talk to Janine. Anyway, so I do the book club and the Instagram lives. I do an Instagram live on Sundays at 2 with my husband, Kyle, because he's really funny. And he's much more of a media personality than I am, but he needs more of a platform. So we interview couples, or we talk about our own lives, and like what it's like for him to be a stepdad to my 4 kids, because I'm divorced and remarried. And then, yes, and then I launched this website, this editorial site called We Found Time. Although I think we'll be changing the name after the pandemic, because then we won't have time again. I mean, I'm serious here. But in the meantime, I thought I have access to all these amazing authors. Wouldn't it be great if I could get them to write about all the things moms don't have time to do? So I started thinking, what do moms not have time to do? Moms don't have time to eat, work out, breathe,
sleep,
and have sex. So I asked authors to write on all these different topics, and I would have 5 essays a week. So I just started that. I started 7 weeks ago. And the essays are amazing. I mean, some of these authors have written such beautiful essays. Like Renee Denfeld wrote this beautiful literary essay about how when she was younger, she was literally like poor and homeless and couldn't eat. And her job at McDonald's enabled her to survive. But now she's a best-selling author. And oh my God, just some of the essays are so good that I'm just like, wow. And I hired this amazing editorial director named Carolyn Murnick, and now it just like runs itself, and I'm thrilled. All I have to do is ask the authors, and if they say yes, boom, next thing I know, it's on the website. So I'm really excited about that. So those are my main initiatives.
Yeah, well, our moms are so impressed. I'm looking at some of the comments that are streaming in, and they're so inspired and impressed by all that you're doing, and just floored that you have the time to do all that you're doing. And, so many of them are saying that they're looking forward to subscribing and listening to the podcasts. Just a great resource for moms. Jessica Lynn said it's a great resource for moms, really don't have enough time and just like to listen in. So just some real, these moms are just so impressed with everything that you're doing. So
well, I don't want to give the illusion that like I have it all together. I mean, I cry a lot. I hide. The other day I like went into the bathroom and like hid in the bathtub and cried because I just couldn't. I mean, the moods of the 4 kids, ages 5 to almost 13, it's a lot. And, without like any sort of that village that it takes these days in the pandemic, it's just, it's a lot. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, I have it all together, but this for me is like a total escape and outlet. And I love being able to help other people and connect with other people. So I'm doing it, but I also kind of need it for my own sanity.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm seeing Gabriella who's just saying preach. So our moms it's definitely resonating with our moms, and they understand. And Chelsea just said, I love how honest you are. Are we really moms if we aren't hiding and crying a bottle of wine during this time?
Oh my gosh. On Instagram the other night, I'm at Zibby Owens, and I was going to bed and I was like, I'm just going to make a list of like all the stuff today. Like number of times I cried, 5, number of loads of laundry, 6, like unloaded the dishwasher 4 times. Like I can't, there's so much all the time. And it's so frustrating. The endlessness of the housework and the kid stuff. And anyway, but then on the other hand, that day I had like 540 people come to a seminar I did with the author Judith Viorst through the Stryker Center. And that was amazing. So it's like these extreme highs and lows, but it's just nice to have this outlet.
Yep. No, I feel that that's so true. It's like the peaks and the valleys and the highs and lows, just like you said. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that honesty. Our moms are definitely appreciating that as well. Well, I feel like a lot of us are hoping, to escape into a summer book if possible, over the next few weeks, next few months. So tell us a little bit more about the 5 books that you'd like to recommend to our moms out there that they might be really, excited about reading this summer.
So I picked 5 books that are all short because come on, like who has time? So they're short and they also read very quickly. So, they're very well paced and they go quickly. I really love memoirs because I like just sitting and listening to somebody else's stuff. So I picked 5 memoirs by really amazing women. And they range from funny to heartbreaking. And these are literally what I would tell my best friend to go read. In fact, I have told my best friend to go read these. And actually, I've had many of these authors in my book group. In my book club, come and talk. So anyway, okay, the first one is called What We Carry. It's by a woman named Maya Schonbog Lang. When I first saw this, I wasn't like so amazed by the cover. I was like, oh, okay, maybe whatever. It's so good. It's amazing. It's about a woman and how her relationship with her mother has evolved over time. Her mother is from India. She was born in America. It talks about when she has her first baby and the postpartum depression, how her mother wasn't there for her. It goes on till her mother ends up developing Alzheimer's and the tables kind of turn, and she ends up finding out all the stuff about her mother that she didn't know before. It's written with a lot of immediacy. She wrote it sort of as she was in the moment. So for anybody who deals with an aging parent and also just that feeling of aloneness of having a new baby and not having the support you need, which I feel like everybody feels right now anyway. This is really great and really well written. She's amazing. Nobody Will Tell You This But Me by Bess Kalb is great. She wrote this, came out, I think, in March, but it's told from the point of view of Bess's grandmother who recently passed away. And she wrote in her funeral, she wrote a speech basically in the voice of her grandmother talking to everybody at the funeral, which people found so funny and uplifting. She's a writer for Jimmy Kimmel, so she's really funny. And so she wrote this whole book as if she were her grandmother talking. You cannot read it without a little cry, but it's not a sad cry. It's like a heartwarming, you love your grandmother cry. So for anybody who's ever loved a grandparent or wish they'd loved a grandparent, and look, it's like really short. So anyway, this is really great. Nobody will tell you this but me. This is even shorter. This I read in like 20 minutes. It's a collection of short poems by Judith Viorst, who I mentioned. She is a legendary author. She wrote Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, and all those children's books. And I didn't even know this before I interviewed her, but she's written like probably 100 books, and she has one for every decade of her life, starting in her 30s, and now she's nearing 90. This is like one of these life-affirming, happy, sad book. There's one poem about how she still like watches cute guys like mow the lawn and thinks about their butts. I mean, honestly, it's like fun. It's so funny. So and you'll feel good because you can finish it in like 2 minutes. So it's hilarious. And actually now I need to go back and read all the other decades. Okay, this is a different tone, but this is called Stray by Stephanie Danler. She wrote the best-selling novel called Sweet Bitter about her experience as in the restaurant world in New York City. But this is her follow-up book to that. It's a memoir. She's actually now pregnant with her second child. It's just come out, and it's about moving home to California from New York after the whole sweet bitter phase of her life, and how she has to deal with her parents who which brings up all of the trauma that came in her childhood. And there's stuff about drugs and abuse and all this stuff. It's much more gritty, but she is such a brilliant writer. So this is a type of book, and it's not long, but the sentences are so pretty. You could really linger over a sentence if you wanted to, but you don't have to. And she's just amazing. I like fell in love with her after reading this. And this is the last book. It's called There I Am, But Ruthie Lindsay. I also don't think this is a particularly perfect cover for the book, so ignore the cover. Don't judge it by this. But it's about a woman who, when she was 19, got into a really bad car accident. She was okay at the time. She survived. But several years later, almost a decade later, she developed this debilitating pain that nobody could solve. And they finally figured out why some of the pain was there, but nobody could fix it properly. And so it was about her years of dealing with extreme pain, how she had to turn to sort of narcotics essentially to mute the pain, but then she lost years of her life in this haze, and how she came back from all that. And I love stories of sort of resilience and coming back from these shattering moments. And this is inspiring. She's like reached a point where she can see the world in a totally new way and is sharing sort of that vision in only the way where when you've gone through like something really awful, anyway. So I love this. And then crazy enough, along the way, she ends up like starting a home design thing. And next thing you know, Taylor Swift's cover album is shot in her house. And anyway, it's like one of these crazy, funny, but poignant. Anyway, I love this author. Her name's Ruthie Lindsay. And so those are five stories that I'm like, these are 5 women I would love to be like at a dinner with tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. I wrote those titles down because I'm going to go.
Maybe put them in the comments or something. So There I Am by Ruthie Lindsay. And she is going to be in my book club also. So whoever wants to, I think that's, it's not this week. This week is Janine Cummins, but she'll be in my book club the week after, which is June 2nd. Nice. So for anyone who wants to meet her, we'll talk about that. And then Stray, Stephanie Danler, Judith Viorst, Nearing 90, very funny. Also great gift, but Nobody Will Tell You This But Me, Best Cobb, and What We Carry, Maya Lang. So
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, no, a lot of our moms are saying, I'm writing this down. I can't wait to dive in. Elaine is saying, I don't know which one to read first.
Right? They're so good. They're so good.
And Tanya's saying these all sound amazing. And I think I saw a comment before about the memoir piece, and one of our audience members said that, it's so true. Sometimes you have to get to a certain point in your life at a certain age before you can really start to appreciate memoirs and people's life stories. So sounds like a lot of moms are looking to dive into that one as well. And of course, a lot of our moms also who've just had a first baby or second baby or third baby, the postpartum depression piece, I think is so true. And to read about another person's, journey through that, can be really helpful.
I can also make a link and send them. I have all of these on my bookshop.org page already. So you can even just search me there, but I can send a link. Or however you get your books. I mean, it doesn't benefit me. So whatever. Yeah. I like bookshop.org because it benefits independent bookstores. So I'm not looking to profit or anything, just to be clear.
Yeah, no, great. But these moms are so excited about diving in. So thank you so much for that list of book recommendations. And I think, Annie, I don't know about you, but, the next few weeks, I really hope to be able to, find some time to myself and, even if it's not a big chunk of time, just to be able to read a little bit. And so I love that you chose each one you preface that it's short. It's not too long, not too time consuming, because I feel like all of us moms, we'll take what we can get, at this point.
I should also say, I've had all these authors on my podcast. So even before you read them, if you go to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books today, you can listen to my interviews with all of them except Judith Viorst, but that's coming out on Monday. So you can go listen and hear how amazing these people are and then go read the book. And I always think that makes the book that much more interesting when you have the backstory on the author. So excellent to do while you're folding laundry or unloading the dishwasher again.
Right. Hiding from your kids.
Yeah. Hiding from your kids. Yeah. All of that.
Well, everybody who's joining us today, please let us know what you found most helpful from our chat with Zibby today, and let us know the name of your current favorite book or what you're reading right now. Our entire community would love to know what everybody's reading, what everybody's into these days, and keep sharing your thoughts and questions in the comments section. And to learn more about Zibby and all the amazing resources that she offers, head on over to her website, zibbyowens.com. And make sure you tune into Zibby's podcast. Again, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, wherever you listen to podcasts or on her website directly. So Zibby, thank you so much for being here today, for letting us in a little bit on your life as a mom, and you sharing these great resources and great summer book recommendations with us. We really appreciate it. And all our moms have been, commenting away and so happy for, some of these recommendations as well. So thank you. Okay. And everybody, again, remember, keep liking, sharing, commenting for your chance to win. We'll select the winners on Monday. I'm hoping to try those crumb cakes as well.
Yes,
I don't need any more sweets in my life, but they just sound too good.
They're so good. Well, thank you all for listening. It's really, really nice to meet all these new people, and I hope I can improve their lives a little bit by some of the content that I put out in the world. So That's my goal.
Thank you so much, Zibby, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.